Well, I've been practicing flint knapping a lot lately, and here's kind of a progression of the points that I made so far, or attempted to make in case of this one here. That one's clearly broken, so I'm just gonna give you a look at that. This one here, you can see there's actually not a whole lot of work on it. You can see some flake scars there around here. This was mainly to remove the cortex. So this was actually originally a larger flake that was already fairly thin, and then while I worked on it, it snapped in half actually pretty nicely in that case. First it snapped, I don't remember, either along this or that line. So it formed this pretty much perfect triangle. And then I just wanted to refine that and, as I said, remove the cortex here on the other side. But then I broke it in half because I was doing pressure flaking. If you don't know what that is, I'll show you a bit later. So that involves pushing into it to remove a flake, and I was doing too much pressure downward, and I was pushing into the hollow of the palm of my hand, and that's what broke it. And then the next attempt is this, and I've got some footage from this, which I'll put in the video afterwards. So this is a very eccentric shape, as you can tell. I was basically just letting the material take me where it quote-unquote wanted to go. Now that's kind of an artsy excuse for I didn't plan ahead enough. You can totally look at it that way. But I decided, it was kind of interesting because I was at first just focusing on thinning it down, and this had a tendency for this recurve, so I just kind of rolled with it and made it into this odd shape here. Now, there are plenty of problems with this. Like, for one, it's way too thick, in particular on this side right here. Like, I should have thinned this out a lot more. This does not have an edge whatsoever. On this side here, there's a bit of an edge. So this tapers a lot more. This is really how it should be. But I didn't manage to take away enough material here on the flat side. And there are also a number of steps here. These flaws there. It's a little bit annoying. Also, the point is not quite aligned with the center. So when hafting this, the force might actually go in this direction when it hits something. This might just snap off. So yeah, that's it. There are some issues with it, but it's kind of neat. And then today I made this. Now I wish I had turned on the camera for this, but I just got too absorbed by the making process and didn't really remember it. But this turned out quite well. This is my first good arrow point. This looks much nicer because you can see the consistent flake scar pattern here. And it turned out really nice that part of the flint was white and the other dark. So it's got this white tip here. Looks pretty cool. And overall, I'm much happier with this. Now, this is reasonably thin. I could have thinned it out some more potentially, but of course, you also don't want to make it too thin to not make it break very easily. But definitely better on this one. This side doesn't have, it's still got a bit of a pattern here, but it's not as regular as this side. So this here looks pretty neat. I'm quite happy with this, and I will eventually, when I get around to it, I will put this on an arrow shaft or possibly an addle dart and try it. The other one too, probably. The weird looking one. I don't know how this is going to perform, but we'll see. And as I said, if you don't know how small stone artifacts like this here are made, I'll show you a little bit right now. As I said, too bad that I didn't turn on for this because I did a far better job. The flakes I pushed off were a lot longer on this one, but it still gives you a rough idea. So here I've got a piece of Georgetown flint that I haven't started working on this, just the flint that I struck, the flake that I struck recently. And I want to see if I can make maybe like a short blade out of that. Okay, so first off, since this is already the right angle, I'm gonna abrade this. So the abrading is important because it makes the platform stronger. So when you hit it, it doesn't just crush and crumble away. So I'm not going to do this with just percussion flaking. This time I'm also going to do pressure flaking. Come on. There we go. That flake went right towards my crotch. That's always nice. So this is quite a nice thin flake, nice and sharp too, but it's really tiny, so it's not too much you can do with that. Okay, gotta remove a little more here. What I'm mainly worried about is snapping this in half, so I haven't quite figured out what the best way to hold stuff is to prevent that. So I want to strike one that removes this overhang here. That would be nice. Hopefully I can do that. Okay, I'll make sure to support the piece here so I don't snap it. Oh. Come on. Yep, we've got something. There we go. That took off a little bit of that. Now if I can hit this right here. Yeah. Good. Got it. So I'm just gonna continue here a little bit, thinning it out, and well, we'll get back to it in a moment. I basically want to remove this entire piece here, and I'm just going to get something to get a bit of a sharp corner here. And then if I hit that, I can make sure that no more comes off than what I want. By the way, I am wearing eye protection in case you're wondering. Very important. So, this is my pressure flaker. This is a Delrin handle with a copper nail inserted. In Neolithic times, they were able to make copper tools, and so stuff like this has been found. Of course, obviously not in this form here with Delrin and everything, but the more traditional tool would be an antler tine. That wasn't quite right yet. So the way that's used is you push flakes off rather than hitting it. So in order to do that, I have to push in first to build up pressure, and then that downward movement is what detaches the flake. When it gets too dull, I just use the file. Since it's copper, it's nice and soft, so it's a quick job. But the reason why copper is used is that this way, since the copper is relatively soft for a metal, the edge can kind of bite into it, so it holds on to it, and then you have an easier time detaching flakes. By the way, as said, I'm still in the beginner stages of learning this, and I very much welcome any kind of constructive criticism, any suggestions for what I can do better and how. Yeah, that you can probably see. So that flake was pressed off here. Yeah, you can often tell by the sound. If you hear like a satisfying snap, that's a decent flake, as opposed to crunching noises. You really don't want to hear crunching noises with this. You know, just like with your joints, you don't want to hear crunching noises as you get old. Or any time, really. What am I even talking about? Okay, like I mentioned in the previous video, flakes have a tendency to follow pre-existing ridges. So if I push it off in that direction, hopefully I can get it all the way to here. No, not that far. It went 3/4 of the way that I was hoping. So it's not terrible, but not quite what I wanted. I'm actually wondering if I should use percussion for this spot here. Might actually be better, because I can definitely produce longer flakes that way. Maybe worth it. I don't want to use too much percussion at this stage, just because it is rather thin in some spots. Don't want to risk breaking it. But right here, I think that's actually a good idea. Oh yeah. Wow. Aside from the step termination, that sucks. Okay. I hit to the side of it. Need more space. Yeah. This will have to go. I'm losing some length here, which is unfortunate for what I have in mind. But I need access to this platform, because this would be a problem if I don't take care of it. There. That's what I wanted. Excellent. So at this stage, I'm still more concerned with thinning than shaping, meaning that I don't pay as much attention to the outline, aside from fixing the alignment of the edge overall. Overall shape, certainly a little better now. By the way, I solved the problem of the camera battery always dying. No, not always, but somewhat regularly, because I now bought an AC adapter for it, which I didn't even know existed for this camera, but fortunately there are some for that model. This is going to be really boring to edit. I've lost a lot of width here, but I wanted to get the thickness right, so that's just how that went. The camera tells me that I've been at it for 1 hour and 12 minutes, which I wouldn't have been able to tell because time flies when doing this. Come on. There. Okay, it's taking shape. I'll have to continue with this later. I have a tendency when I'm working at this to forget everything else, including what I have to eat and stuff, so
I'm going to do that now and get back to it later.
So yeah, then I worked some more on it off camera and it turned into this odd little thing. Anyway, hope you found this interesting and thanks for watching.